Warning. The following show features reviews from wildly unprofessional critics operating without the supervision of professionals. The thoughts and opinions held by these individuals are not to be taken seriously and do not come from a place of intellectual integrity. This show doesn't reflect the opinions of Criticless or its users. Viewer discretion is advised.
What's up? What's up? What is up, everybody? Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Criticless Cast Unhinged Live, which I guess all of our Unhinged are now live, but this is also live once again, and I'm glad to be back. I missed a lot last week. I was able to get out one video this week, but it's been a little bit of an adjustment getting back into the groove of things, and I'm glad to be back. I'm glad to have the fellas here in the studio and be back at it. I've been popping around on shows all over the place, and that's going to continue, so that's been fun. But today we are going to be talking about Captain America: Brave New World, a movie that has changed titles multiple times and has apparently changed its plot multiple times, and a lot has changed about this movie many times at this point. But this is the return of the MCU to a degree, because we had Deadpool and Wolverine, but that was really very loosely MCU, and now it's really back. And the question is Marvel back after things like the Marvels and some of the shows? A lot of things just have not been very well received of late. And everybody's wondering, like, is this a return to form, or is this more floundering from what we have been getting from the MCU? But you will find that out in just a little bit. We will be giving you a spoiler-free review to kick things off once we start the review. But before that, we're going to talk about some things we've been watching and streaming lately while everybody comes in here, and a little bit of news as well. But I think what I need to do is go ahead and introduce my co-host, because per usual, I have Mr. Matthew Verlack.
Hey everybody, thanks for coming and joining us today. I cannot wait to talk about this movie.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who are I have seen multiple comments who are like, I'm probably not going to see this, but I can't wait to see the absolute shit show that pursues after this movie is out. So anyways, also joining me today is Mr. Kyle Gazak.
Back by unpopular demand. What's up, everyone? Ready to get into it.
Hey, no. Last time they enjoyed you. They wanted you back, and
hey, happy to be here.
Yeah. We're really glad to have you back here too. And that is Kyle off script on criticless.com and Slipping into the Void on Criticless, and of course Blaine. I will be your MySpace Tom. So you will be following me instantly.
Can't get rid of them.
No,
you made it say you can't even delete them or anything.
I'm close to herpes on that app, without a doubt. We now have people pretending to be legal counsel for all of our users who get abused by me on a regular basis via Jaja Binks. So he is our legal aid within the app. So if you need protection from my harassment or false advertising, then feel free to consort our weed smoking Gundam.
They need some thicker skin.
Yeah,
they need to come to Criticless so they can get hazed a little bit.
Yes, and if you're new to the whole Criticless situation and you're like, what is going on? What is the deal? What is this? We are an app. We are a social platform. We are a website. We are many things. Make sure to come and check us out online. It's Criticless, LESS. So like, take away the critic part. And that's it, criticless.com, or you can find us in the Android and Apple stores, and we'll be featuring it throughout this episode. So you'll get a better understanding of what we've got going on. But anyways, guys, let's go ahead and talk about a little bit of news. There was one story that I didn't really want to cover during this week because it wasn't big enough for a whole show, but I did want to touch on it because it's absolutely absurd. Okay. Kyle, I don't know. I feel like Kyle's always on top of the news. Matt was the one that mentioned this a minute ago. I don't know if Kyle heard about it, but there is a show coming out called Taylor Lautner Werewolf Hunter. Oh, no. And if you're not familiar with Taylor Lautner, he's the werewolf from the Twilight.
Hey, he is also Shark Boy.
He is Shark Boy.
You're right, Shark Boy.
He is Shark Boy.
Shark Boy first.
What's funny is looking at his adult pictures, the dude looks like kind of the same still. Like he kind of still looks like what he did.
Because that's the thing. He's actually done some other movies.
Right.
I remember watching one, and it was about him being a ninja.
Okay.
It's called like Ninja Assassin or something like that, and he does not work as a ninja.
No,
let me tell you, man.
He was good in
Tracers.
Tracers.
His face.
Right.
Yeah, it's just like his face doesn't work as a ninja.
He's got a baby face. He's got a baby face. He does have a little bit of stash and stuff going on now, but luckily for him, I guess in some ways he hasn't aged too fast. So
sure.
That's
is this a documentary or like documentary or just
it gets
it's amazing. I cannot wait.
This is outrageously meta. So the point of Taylor Lautner Werewolf Hunter is that the show follows Taylor Lautner after he got done filming Twilight, and he gets found by some people who hunt werewolves, and they hire him due to his werewolf expertise from being in the Twilight movies.
Yeah. You're not going to be able to beat that. That's just a fantastic idea. It's like this meta like brain fart they had, and they were just like, let's just run with it.
Who greenlit that?
Amazon. This is a Amazon MGM Studios project, and apparently it is connected to some people that like were attached to BoJack Horseman. So actually, it makes this a little makes a bit more sense.
Okay. Sure, that gives a little merit too. I'm like, okay, BoJack was a really good dark animated show. Yeah, but I mean, this isn't. I'm guessing this won't be animated.
No, I wouldn't think so.
We'll see.
Right.
I mean, I'm just curious,
and I can.
Hilarious.
It really could be. I can go ahead and read the log line for this. So what it says is, after wrapping the final Twilight film, Taylor Lautner vanished from the spotlight. Fans speculated, tabloids theorized, but the truth is wilder than fiction. Taylor wasn't just taking a mental health break. He was preparing for his real calling. Taylor Lautner, werewolf hunter. Playing himself, Taylor is drawn into a secret society of werewolf trackers who need his unique expertise as he navigates his double life, Hollywood actor by day, supernatural warrior by night. Taylor must wrestle with the ultimate irony, fighting the very creatures that made him famous. Between saving the world, reviving his career, and falling in love, he faces the ultimate question: what happens when your biggest role becomes your greatest enemy? Dun dun dun. So what do you think, Kyle? You gonna watch this?
I mean, at this point, I want to see a trailer based off of that description. Like, how meta is this going to be? Like, I got nothing.
I hope they lean really hard into like making fun of him, and it sounds like they're going to, like, in a good way, not in a bad way. Just like, because they even talk about, they're like, did he go on like a mental health break after these movies? What happened to Taylor Lautner?
He clearly signed off on it, so he's got to be okay with the material, I would imagine.
Right, exactly, and he's showing up for the movie, so unless he's that hurting for a paycheck, but I can't imagine his 6 Twilight movies is not still paying him quite healthy.
I mean, I guess it depends on if he's getting dividends or not. You find out a lot of the times for these big budget movies like that, these people get like one lump sum, and quite often it's not remotely as high as you think it would be.
And I would understand that for like a first movie, but then they made 5 or 6 of them. So I would assume maybe the first one you get a lump sum, the second and third you get smarter. Somebody tells you, hey,
new contracts, hopefully smart agents to renegotiate the rates. Yeah,
exactly.
Maybe you know back in residuals.
Yeah, exactly. Like with the residuals and stuff. Yeah, you know how all that stuff works to a degree, but it does get very hairy, and it all depends on if the studio is willing to play ball.
Right.
So, I mean, this though, it honestly sounds kind of amazing.
And it's a movie?
No, it is a series. I think that is what I am gathering here. So I mean,
even more ridiculous.
Yeah,
it's one thing to be like, we're making a 2-hour movie about this. Instead, they were like, you know what, we're gonna make an 8-hour series, because more than likely it's probably hour-long episodes or close to an hour-long episodes.
Right.
I'm here for it. I think it's gonna be fucking hilarious.
Yeah. I mean, when the trailer drops, I'll probably be one of the first ones to watch it, just to see like. I need something visual to go with this description.
Yeah.
See where they're going with it.
I mean, I almost, what was the show that they did on Amazon for a little while? Was Jean-Claude Van Damme? Remember that? And it was really meta and kind of goofy too.
Jean-Claude Van Johnson.
Yeah. That is what I'm getting here. And that was actually an Amazon show as well. But that's
wasn't that back when they did that pilot series where they would pilot like 10 shows, and
I think that they did
popular one and go from there.
Yeah, they did test it during that, but it lasted like a season, but then it got canceled, which was kind of a bummer, because obviously it's Jean-Claude Van Damme, so you know. But so that's pretty much it for the news that I wanted to cover today. Well, there was one more thing I was going to touch on that's kind of Criticalist adjacent, which we covered today on WDW Pro's show. I was on today earlier, and basically the news came out due to all this stuff with Doge and Elon Musk and all this stuff they're digging up. Essentially what happened is it came out that it is looking very strongly like our federal government has been paying media outlets to basically just disseminate mass propaganda.
I mean, have you watched the news? And it's on all sides of the news too. You know, like you go watch anything, you know exactly what you're going to get from each side. I'm not surprised by that at all.
Right. Yeah, it's not super surprising, but it is one of those things like we were talking about on the show today, where it really does, even this type of thing gets really complicated, because it's like, if they were doing this on a large scale with big news articles, big things, then I have no doubt that things like these critics for these mainstream outlets aren't getting paid to prop up establishment things, which I've been saying forever.
I was about to say, we know that. It was proven
that
they were being paid to like write negative articles on other sites besides Rotten Tomatoes. Like, this has already been proven.
Yeah, so
the media wasn't really talking about it.
Well, and it wasn't connected either to the government.
True.
So this gets down to like boiling down to like a propaganda level. And I mean, they did also uncover that Disney was also getting paid through some of this USAID stuff. And like, so there's a lot of hairy things coming out right now. We talked about it more on that show. I didn't want to dig into it too much, but if you happen to miss that bit of information, it is worth hearing about and looking into a little bit. We'll try and stick a link in show notes or something. So one thing that I did want to do also that we haven't done yet, I didn't have it pulled up, but was just to say hey to the chat and just what's up, everybody. Obviously, Miss Critic List is in here per usual. Hello. And Nadia, hello. Welcome again and back. And Sin's Corner as well. What's up? And Sin actually said that she has zero interest in Captain America, and she had decided that long ago. And there's a lot of users within Critic List that have been burned to a degree in which they are kind of refusing to go back.
Which is what we talked about kind of when we were leaving the theater, and why we were talking about like what this costs and the expectation. I feel like so many people aren't going to give it a try, and I can't blame anybody.
Right.
I can't tell you how many shows, Marvel shows, I just have not watched because I'm just been burnt by the shows. And it's the same for the movies. And so I fully understand and respect everybody saying they're not. And I hope, they like tune in and hear what people to say. And if they, decide they actually might want to go see this movie, they do give it a chance. Just
right.
In case it is a good movie.
Right. And so also Caveat Ties, what's up, buddy? Welcome back per usual. And we do have one more slightly controversial comment down here by Kevin Davis, basically just talking about the hate that Anthony Mackie has been getting. Doesn't feel like Mackie deserves all the hate that he's been getting. And some people are of the opinion that a lot of people that are doing that, it's race-based comments and so on and so forth. And I would just say most of the people that I have personally encountered and know, it has nothing to do with his race. It's more to just do with him fitting into the mantle of this character and so on and so forth. But we will definitely dig into part of that conversation with this review, because there will be a lot surrounding the fact of if he is a good fit for Cap. And I don't know, in my personal opinion, race plays no part in that. It's just more about the only part really that it plays a part in is if you did see the Captain America television show, which they made race a linchpin and like a foundational element of the show. So it was really Disney and Marvel that decided to make this character based around race, not the public. So
honestly, the only thing I can think of that I didn't like him in was season 2 of Altered Carbon.
Oh man, he ruined that show, bro. He could not
follow Joel Kinnaman's performance. And that was probably like the worst. I mean, I've never rewatched it. I should probably rewatch it.
Right.
I just can't bring myself. Season 1 of Altered Carbon, I'll talk about that anytime I can, is such a freaking good season of a show.
Yes. Yeah. Season 1 was phenomenal. I hate that season 2 didn't go. We needed Kinnaman back. It was a shame. And I mean, I like Mackie in tons of stuff. It's just, I think there's stuff that he works great in and some stuff that he doesn't. So we'll find out if it worked in Captain America in just a little bit. So we were going to touch in a little bit on what we've been watching and streaming lately, and then we'll move into the spoiler-free review. So I guess Kyle, why don't you kick things off since you haven't been here in a week or two? So you're back. We want to hear what you've been seeing lately.
So I got up early this morning and binged watched the final 5 episodes that just dropped at 3 a.m. this morning of Cobra Kai. And wow, what a ride. Like, first off, I don't know if we've talked about this, like since day one, since it was on YouTube before it switched over to Netflix.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, I just remembered that today.
It was a YouTube original or something.
2 seasons. Yeah, and then 3 on was on Netflix. I've been a diehard fan because I grew up with the original trilogy. I even watched the Next Karate Kid in '94 with Hilary Swank, which I feel like that might be pulled into something later on. But so when they restarted this or came up with this series, I went, I'm all in. Like, I don't care how it doesn't make sense as far as why are we caring about all these high stakes with a local karate dojo? But they just make it work. And without spoiling these last 5 episodes, they just They feel so good. There's some of the best fighting I've seen, and probably the best emotional arcs.
Nice.
And acting otherwise.
This show gets so much love. I still have only seen one episode way back.
Yeah.
And you haven't seen any either, correct?
No, I am not a Karate Kid fan.
Mhm.
It was over talked about when I was a kid. And my
Right.
dad would quote it nonstop, and it just pissed me off to no end. And so I never watched beyond the first movie. And then they rebooted, they did the show and all that. And I just never tipped my toe in there.
Yeah, this show is getting a lot of love. It currently has an 88% on Criticalist right now. That's by 22 people, but yeah, I mean, it is wall-to-wall most excellence. We have 175%, and then a decent by Ninja Waiter, but he hates absolutely everything. So there's that, but it's almost all most excellence and a few like rads scattered in outside of the stray bullet it catches here and there. But this show is pretty unanimously loved, and I'm curious about it. I don't know if I'll ever make it to it or not. I mean, I watched the first movie fairly recently, but I didn't get to finish it. I still have some nostalgia, but not a massive amount.
They pull from the trilogy, and they definitely find that groove once they switched over to Netflix. They really found their groove, and
they probably found a bigger budget.
Oh yeah, budget,
yeah,
production value, who they can bring in, the ties, the locations. So yeah, that was a blast, and I'm more stoked than ever for the Legends movie in May now.
Right, and so you think that these are clearly definitely connecting the show and that movie, and
I don't know if it will / if it needs to connect to the Cobra Kai series, because like the ending is just chef's kiss, but it obviously takes place in that universe, and they do something really cool, which I might mention later because it kind of ties in with Captain America.
Okay.
But
interesting.
Yeah. So
you're pleased with the way that they buttoned it up there?
Yes, absolutely. On all fronts. And then I've been watching Paradise on Hulu, starring Sterling K. Brown and
this is a new
James
show.
Marsden. Yeah. There's only, I think, episode 6 or 7 drops Tuesday. So yeah, this is fresh, brand new. It is. I don't know if anyone has seen This Is Us from ABC.
Right.
It finished, I think, 2 years ago.
Like
really good emotional drama series. It has elements of that mixed with,
because it seemed almost like a darker, like crime, almost some type of mystery, I guess.
Very much so. And I can't. It's even kind of hard to describe the format of it without spoiling some things because of the themes that it.
I saw a trailer and it felt like it spoiled a lot, and I was like, I don't know. Maybe it only spoils like the first like 2 episodes or something, but it shows like the hook of the show.
Yeah, there are definitely twists and turns. I'll just say, it follows a lead Secret Service agent from the presidential detail in the wake of something, and in that wake you find tons of mysteries and betrayal and huge like cinematic level issues and setups. And something I appreciate is every episode since the beginning has revealed something new. And I was telling this to my buddy Brett, and trying to describe the show without giving anything away. If you were to take maybe some political thriller mixed with This Is Us, mixed with Vantage Point. If you remember that with Dennis Quaid back in 2008, and with multi angles from same thing, and then maybe something world altering. And I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, that's what I noticed is there's like a big world event, and that's kind of what this revolves around.
But it's very character driven as much as spectacle and everything else.
That's cool. And we do have one review by one of our most active users and friend of the show and site of Bookstore Thor. He reviewed it. He basically did not same as protecting from spoilers. Right now he has it as 79%. And it seems to be liking it pretty well. So I trust Thor's opinions on this sort of thing, and yours as well. So I think it sounds like this overall is probably pretty solid. Now, this does sound like one of those that it might revolve really well around how they stick the landing, or with it being a show, obviously it will, if there's more seasons or whatever, at least stick the landing of this season. So, but this is a Hulu original show called Paradise. and
they have a
it's-
budget.
Yeah, and it's 8 episodes long. So how far are they in?
I would imagine
That's what the app says, but yeah.
So I think it's episode 6 or 7. I think I watched. It's been a blur. I want to say it's on episode 6.
Okay, so getting close to the end.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So I will touch in. Matt and I are sharing one thing. I will touch in for a minute, or do you want to go ahead and go?
Go ahead, man.
Okay, cool. So what I'll do, I do want to mention, I have not seen a lot. I really can't speak on it a whole bunch, but I have seen the very first episode of American Primeval. This is a new Western show that's on Netflix. It only has 6 episodes, but it has gotten a lot of praise on Criticalist. We're at an 81%, and people seem to be liking it quite well. It's pretty much nothing but rads and most excellence. This show is directed, actually, and heavily involved is Peter Berg, who is a pretty well-known director and has been around for a while, known for spectacle, big-scale movies, and that does show up towards the end of the first episode, and there's an action sequence that I was very impressed with. But this is interesting because it's very different. If right now, currently, the Yellowstone type of Western and those connected universe and shows are what's really popular as far as Westerns go right now. This is something actually quite different. If you ever saw Hell on Wheels, this show is very Hell on Wheels.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It is dark and gritty and brutal. They really lean into that primeval component. This is basically like a crossing the Oregon Trail type of a situation, but in the Wild West.
Revenant? Mixed with
the
Hell on Wheels?
Yes,
maybe?
Yes. In all honesty, Taylor Kitsch is like the lead. He's very gritty and I'm loving everything he's doing. There's a lot of recognizable people. Peter Berg is actually even in the first episode, but Betty Gilpin, who's been around for a little bit, Dane DeHaan, who was the villain in Chronicle and has been around for a while too.
Yeah.
He's doing a great job in this show. There's just everything I've seen so far is very impressive.
It's so funny because we were just watching Valerian.
Yeah,
The City of 1,000
right.
Planets, whatever. And he's not a really good actor in that one.
I think his best performance that I've seen was Chronicle. I thought he did great, and that was like his premiere performance.
Yeah.
But he's doing a very good job in this show as well. And it's only 6 episodes, so pretty easy watch. But a lot of our regular folks have reviewed it and I'm As Good Movies did. Jeremy as well. He gave it an 80%. And so Darth Joker gave it an 80% as well. So it sounds like most people are sitting pretty solid with it. We even have 100 in here. So nice. I would recommend checking it out. But like I said, I've only seen one, but I am going back and I am going to be watching more of this show.
It's been on my queue.
Yeah, I think it's worth seeing, especially with that like Hell on Wheels connection. I know we both love that show. Like it has those vibes of that gritty.
Dude, I tried Hell on Wheels, and then it was just kind of The Walking, because it was like to fill The Walking Dead.
Yeah,
that's when it came out. It was like The Walking Dead stopped, and then that came out, and it just didn't scratch that itch for me.
Right.
So we just never followed through with it.
It's a heavy, darker show for sure, and that's one of those that it's like I recommend, but it's for a certain type of viewer. Like it's very, it goes places. That show can get pretty dark and.
Yeah. I will lock this in now, and I'm sure I don't know about you, Matt, but I know you are.
Okay.
I said it was on my queue. Like, I love a good Western. It's not my go-to, but I do love a good Western. When I saw it was Taylor Kitsch, that is literally why I put it on the queue, because
he's a man.
He like big fan. So,
he's one of the most underrated people in Hollywood, and they keep trying to make him a thing, and he keeps getting attached to projects that aren't great.
He's getting I think they've already finished filming his character's origin series for a prequel series to the Terminal List.
Yes, to the and he was in the Terminal List. Yes,
because I knew they were kind of doubling down on the Terminal List.
Yeah,
got another season, like you said, another show. I didn't know it was about his character, because I like him too. He's decent, like
and
actor.
It makes sense with him being in this because he did Battleship with Peter Berg, and that was and he was the lead of that movie. Oh, we have our first super chat.
Our first super chat from Planet X. $2, yo.
There we go.
Nice.
We got a what is that? We gotta live long and prosper. So
all day.
Yeah, for sure, dude. What's up, Planet X? Thanks very much. Yeah. So for everyone to know, we did finally unlock super chats, which is pretty cool. So it took
pretty cool.
Yeah, pretty cool, bro. We finally got monetized. Took us a little bit, but yeah. So we are finally monetized. Thank you, buddy. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
But thanks for joining the chat.
Right.
But yeah, so American Primeval, that's I would just say it's worth checking out. People in Criticalist seem to like it. It seems like good stuff, and it is. I will say it is brutal. It is primeval. They get into the really like why the Wild West was absolute hell. So yeah.
Okay.
So what you got, Matt?
So I'll start on what we kind of both watched. So
Yes.
Since you've been watching My Hero Academia.
Yeah, and can't quit talking about it.
Can't quit talking about it. It's his new favorite addiction.
It's true.
I'm sure Sydney is tired of hearing about it because the kids are also addicted to it now.
Yeah. I started a whole thing.
And I fell off some point. And I can't remember where it was, and I can't find it because I changed accounts. So I was like, you know what? I'll just restart it. It's a good show. I like it.
It's an animated, anime show.
Yeah, I mean it's an anime.
Very
Not
much
an animated show.
Yes.
Technically, but no.
Right.
It's an anime. You're a dweeb. I mean, you're a weeb. It's okay.
I've been weebing pretty hard lately. They're starting to dub me like
Weeb Lord.
Yes, I'm turning into the Weeb Lord. I know more than the people that got me into this at this point. So we have a problem.
Weeble.
Yes. Yeah. It's like a what is it that they're becoming my Padawans now? I'm actually but I feel more like a Sith Lord with this weeb shit. So, anyways, you're watching My Hero Academia.
I'm towards the end of the second season, and it's still good. I still that's what I remembered. I remembered liking the first 3-ish seasons, and then there was some point where they started following the villains more than the heroes, and I just didn't become as interested. Mm-hmm. I can't remember exactly where it was. I didn't do in-depth research. I'm sure somebody can tell me. They'll be like, you stopped on near this episode. It just, where I fell off. But I do intend to push through. So yeah, I'm gonna try to.
Yeah, I would say
they find their balance.
They do.
Yeah.
The first 2 seasons are definitely, primarily the first. It feels like the most kid-centric show, and then it starts getting more and more mature and deeper storylines and more complex plots.
Then it's not a kid's show.
And then it's kind of not.
I don't care what anyone's
right.
Season 6 and 7.
That's where it was. So Clark has finally he's around season 6, and I'm like, bro, I think we might need to slow, pump the brakes. It gets pretty dark, pretty intense.
I mean, it's kind of dark even in the earlier seasons because the villains, and that's the interesting thing about the show.
Right.
The heroes and the kids are very lighthearted. They're naive. They're kids.
Right.
Then you have the heroes, which understand, but they're also this is the process. This is just how it is. We fight bad guys and we sign pictures and we smile nicely. But then you have the villains, and they are true villains.
Right.
They don't have good intentions. Mm-hmm. They are true villains, which we don't get a lot.
They're
nowadays.
Murderous psychopaths.
Yes, you have murderous psychopaths and things like that, which we don't get a lot nowadays because, as we've been seeing a lot of media recently, they've been trying to make us feel sympathetic to villains.
Yeah.
Look at all the Sony movies with Venom and all that jazz.
Right.
So it's one of those things where this is how it should be.
It's like old school comic books. And that's why I love the show so much. If you are an old school comic fan, it's what I put in my Criticalist review. And I gave this a really high score, a 98. So I love this show. I'm a deep hardcore. Kyle is the same way. You kind of are, but it's old school, deep down, comic book superhero fan. By the time we're into season 6, it's this is what I've been wanting from American superheroes for so long.
Right.
And for just creativity, coming up with new ideas. There are some of the most dumb ass characters in this show that are awesome. There is a character called Best Jeanist, and he wears blue. Yeah, Best Jeanist is a freaking pimp, bro.
He's so good in the later seasons.
Right.
What he does.
It's
spoil it.
It's a man dressed from head to toe in denim, all the way up to his face. He talks about high quality blue jeans and stuff all the time, but has one of the coolest freaking powers ever, and is actually a badass.
The bro is from Canada. That's all I know.
Yeah.
Or Sero, and not to throw any shade on the OG class, but I mean, he gets in, the frontline action, but my man's dropping duct tape out of his elbows.
Right.
I'm you're going to fight a villain? I'm okay. When he started swinging like Spider-Man, I'm like, okay.
That's honestly one of my beefs with the show. This is class 1A is the best class. But then you have people with the dumbest quirks. And I'm how in the real world, how would these people be in the 1A class?
I find that some of those people, they do make they become more believable and realistic as the show goes on. With Grape Rush, who's just a little pervert.
You can't underestimate the Grape Rush and my purple ball.
Yeah. a little kid that just throws great balls that are sticky at everybody. So it's like it is ridiculous anime still, but I think it's still a very fun show.
Yeah.
So,
and then the other thing I want to talk about, I did go to the theaters and see Dogman.
Yes. Yeah.
And
my kid's verbiage about you was that Matt hated its stinking guts, is what they said your opinion was.
Yeah, because Dylan literally was like, before we went in, she was like, "Are you gonna like this movie?" And I was like, "I don't think I'm gonna like this movie. I didn't like the animation style, and I think the concept's dumb from the trailer." And so we went in, and I had my little 3-year-old sitting next to me, and I was just like, "Oh, this movie is not great." And then he got tired of it.
Okay.
And so I knew there was like 10, 15 minutes left, and he was getting antsy. He was getting out of his chair and started roaming around, and he was like trying to like go to the other part of the theater and stuff. I was like, no, look, there's really cool things happening right now, though. Like this could be cool to you if you would just turn around.
Like, we're in the last act, bro. You waited to get antsy until the cool stuff.
Right. And then I was already like that. So I don't know if he was picking up my vibe. But Clark was sitting right next to him, and Clark was just like, yeah, man, this is cool.
Yeah, my kids liked it a good bit.
Yeah.
But so you were not crazy about it?
No, I was not crazy about it. I haven't reviewed it yet because I feel bad giving it a bogus.
Right.
But in my heart of hearts, I'm like, this is not a good movie.
Right.
Like, I didn't care about anybody. I don't think the idea of sewing a dog's head on a human body. I mean, I know this is based on a kid's book and all that jazz, but
and it's connected to like the whole Captain Underpants world, I think, to some degree.
It's the same writer, I think, who did it, which I never got into any of those books. Those are after me, and I was just like, I don't know. It just didn't do it for me.
It's a very
I've seen
popular
a ton of kids movies.
Yeah.
Let me be clear with everybody.
You do watch a lot.
I have seen an epic ton of kids movies over the last 3 years because we watch a lot of movies in our household.
Yeah.
And so does our son. And like, this is probably like one of those most forgettable, like I'll probably, if I remember to write a review, I'll write a review. Right. I might just have to fire off a score and let it be, but I don't know. It just didn't do it for me.
It's doing fairly well in Criticalist right now. We don't have an official score because there's only 6 people, but it's got like rads, and there's a couple most excellents, and then a one decent by the Sevi. So I mean, it's doing okay. I'm guessing, if I'm surprised my daughter hasn't come in here and reviewed it. She'll probably give it a fairly high score. So sounds like folks are liking it. I did want to touch into, we have a few more people in the chat. Did want to say what's up because Doyle Status is in here. What's up, buddy? And Really Old Movies, who I've been on his show. You can check out an episode that we did together where we actually talked about a Western as well. So, but yeah, he basically said that he has seen Falcon and tonight, and that he is not excited about it, and he refuses to call it Captain America.
And he's also speed watching us right now.
Yes. So
no, Bookstore Thor is speed watching us right now.
Oh, fun.
And we probably sound hilarious.
Right. Yeah, talking extra fast. So what's up, buddy?
And so it sounds extra fast when it gets to that point.
Oh, and we got Banjo in here as well. Banjo Sandwich. What's going on, buddy? He said he dropped a fake then true review. Oh yeah, because I did see he review bombed Captain America, and then I guess he's given it a real review at this point.
Okay.
Holy crap!
I have not watched any reviews or looked at anything. I haven't
seen any.
Actually, I did notice. We'll talk about it in a bit. Don't show it on screen. But actually, a critic and friend of the show as well, Hollywood and Toto, who has dropped the very first Criticalist article ever. I think dropped his first review. He has a review for this movie in the app, which is super cool.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, glad to have Christian on the app. That's really
big shout out to him for getting us that first article and everything a long time ago. Like 2 years now. Almost.
Exactly. Nice. Yep. Yeah. And I was on the show. I was on a show with him today, so he popped in. So I'm glad he's on this. But I guess I was going to talk about one more thing, but I think I'll wait and talk about it later after I've seen more. But I guess, do you guys want to go ahead and dig into Captain America? I'm sure everybody wants to hear our thoughts.
No, we can pontificate on some other stuff.
You want to
really let them
I can do this all day.
Yeah.
But Ken Mackie though, Mackie.
We'll get to it.
So, all right, guys, we're going to do a spoiler-free review for Captain America: Brave New World, and so you can hang out. And then I'm guessing that with so much hate, apparently, that this movie is getting, if you want to stay through the spoiler section, you are welcome to do that as well. So, yeah, we're going to go ahead and give our kind of upfront thoughts of Captain America: Brave New World. Now, we'll say I was on that show earlier today, and I have seen the Rotten Tomatoes score, so I know where the critics are sitting with this thing and what's ruminating in that sphere. But we'll touch on that. Actually, I think possibly after the spoiler-free section.
Okay.
And before we do the spoilers. So, all right. So, guys, let's get into the nitty-gritty of Captain America: Brave New World.
Let's do it.
Yeah. All right. So, I feel I'm curious what the spectrum of thoughts are going to be at this table. It was an interesting thing. I'll say this. So we saw it today in Dolby. It was actually a surprisingly full theater.
Yeah.
We have been in fairly empty theaters this month because typically, or well, last month, like January is kind of the dump zone for a lot of movies. And so things are just starting to pick up. But this movie has been surrounded in controversy, like I mentioned earlier. So we'll probably touch on some of that. But I guess, Matt, I'm curious about your opinion of this movie. What is your critical score? What do you think about?
So I'm starting the game here.
Yeah, Captain America: Brave New World. What's your thoughts?
So I actually liked it. I'll give it a rad.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I really liked a lot of the movie.
Yeah.
There are a couple things that I was like, well, this needs to be explained, and it wasn't.
Okay.
Throughout here and there.
Yes.
Which is why this isn't the most excellent. You know, there's some cheap CGI for some reason at some points.
Okay.
But, and I know a lot of people's beefs, and I understand it completely, with Anthony Mackie being Captain America. Doesn't feel like that. I feel like this movie is what that show should have been. This should have been the show already. Yes. This should have been the show, and they didn't have to do the villain they did for the show, but like this is the comeuppance from Falcon to Captain America.
Yeah. Okay.
That everyone's been waiting for.
Right.
And so that's where I sit with
that's
this.
Actually
like, this is actually like what I expected.
And so you feel like this should have been the TV show. The TV show we shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, because I mean, I had the same beef with the show that most people had.
Like,
it hit you over the head with politics.
Yeah.
Like stopping and giving speeches.
Right.
Was not Captain America. No. Captain America didn't give speeches. He would give like one sentence responses, and you had to go think about it.
Right.
And I think that, and maybe like looking back on it now, so it is, you know, he was Falcon, and he tried to be Captain America too quickly. This is how I'm writing this in my head, by the way.
Yeah.
Like the story for this Falcon to Captain America saga is that he went from being a side character, more or less, to being thrust in the spotlight. So he felt like he had to do something, which is what they tried to show in the show. But this movie, I think, really kind of like brought him into trying to be a lead hero.
Right.
And they did a good show. And I think they did a good job. I really enjoyed the movie.
Okay.
So
cool.
Yeah.
Nice. All right. So Matt, you liked it. Critical score. So you said a rad somewhere?
Somewhere in the 70s.
Okay.
I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So you're right in that like the middle to upper range of the rad.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, because really my beefs came down to CGI and some things they kind of hand waved away.
Okay.
Which I have a beef with in most movies, like in Bruges, which I just watched and reviewed recently.
Yeah.
Like great movie, except they hand waved some things.
Right.
And you can't hand wave things. You can't just be like, oh, they're just here because.
All right.
So that's my beef.
All right. So Matt's got a rad. Kyle, you want to go or you want me to go first?
You can go.
You want me to go?
All right.
This movie's a fucking mess. I really am not a huge fan. Not a big fan. I don't think it's terrible. I don't hate it. I think that overall it felt rather pointless to me. Like you said, this could have been like a 3-episode television show.
Yeah.
It felt even like the stakes were relatively small while also being large, which I don't really understand how they managed to do that.
Yeah, I don't understand what you mean by that.
Like
it seemed like really big stakes.
They did, but it doesn't really feel like that to me. There was something about it that just felt empty. This movie as a whole kind of felt empty to me.
Yeah.
But I think some of this also, a lot of my problems with this movie as well is kind of just casting. And a lot of that has to do with Anthony Mackie as this role. I don't buy it. I don't buy him as Cap. It didn't work for me. I don't like him as this character. I don't like him in this role. I want him to be Falcon. I don't think he is leading man in this movie. It doesn't work for me.
Comeuppance. This is him becoming.
It doesn't work. I don't buy it at all.
I think it's because he didn't wear the suit.
Maybe.
Was something I noted. It was like he was constantly in street clothes.
He was in street clothes.
Captain America never wear street clothes.
Well, and they address it a lot, and I think that they address it a lot because a lot of people have problems with it, and it's that he is a regular guy and he is in these very large scale things, and there were so many moments in this movie where I was like, he would even with having a Wakandan suit, I'm like, his face would have blown off. His head would have come off his shoulders.
And see, that's some of the hand waviness.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And it just every time that happened, it just like blew me right out of the movie. And I'm just like, dude, he would have been obliterated.
Yeah.
Absolutely. He hits in the first scene of the movie. He has on is goggles and his regular suit, and he literally breaks the sound barrier, comes down to Earth to the point in which a shockwave happens after he lands. But his body was able to withstand the G-forces of a freaking like breaking the sound barrier.
Yeah, he had a suit on.
He had a full helmet. Also,
did he at that part?
He had the full helmet that came back with nanotech, and the whole suit was Wakanda energy, which
absorbs energy.
That's the thing. A lot of the hand waviness is that he has a Wakanda vibranium suit.
Exactly, and so I have a theory about the Wakanda vibranium suit. I think that they added all of that after the fact. We know that this movie has gone through multiple reshoots, a lot of fixing of this film.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of this hand wavy feeling of a lot of this stuff, and you're like, I think that they literally added that component to this movie because people were like, I don't buy it. He couldn't withstand that. That doesn't work. Like, he's a human. And, but even there are other scenes where just him being a regular dude and like playing him as Cap, like I just don't think a non-superhuman person works well as Cap.
Right.
It doesn't land for me well. But there's there's some really bad writing in this movie that I really hated. There was some dialogue and some lines that I was just like, no, like don't, like they were trying to make him seem they wanted you to feel like he feels like Cap, and they gave him some very Cap-esque lines like Chris Evans used to have. Didn't work for me at all. Like it just doesn't. And
but see, I think that's why it works, because he's not Chris Evans. He's
very much not
that Captain America. He is his own version of the character, which is why I think that works, because he isn't.
It's a nice juxtaposition.
I mean?
Yeah.
Right. I think and obviously they're going to keep him, that he's not going away.
Yeah. So at least for a little bit.
They're going to keep trying to like evolve this version of Captain America.
Yeah. I just don't, which I've said for a while. I love Anthony Mackie. I think Anthony Mackie works better as a supporting character. I've always felt this way, even before he had this role. I think when he thrives the best, when I really love his performances, it's when he's working off of other people and he's not the lead. I think that's where he's best. And I still feel that way after seeing this movie. I actually feel even stronger that way after seeing this movie. But there's also, I mentioned casting, there's multiple other characters. There's a new character in this movie who was initially supposed to be like some kind of Mossad person who they like changed. She was supposed to be a superhero, but they made her part of Black Widow's situation. I really didn't like the casting of that role and didn't really like her performance. There's another character that's a guy that's taking the mantle of Falcon. I thought he was fine. He was kind of the comedic relief in the heart, but also didn't really love it. It was fine. Totally just fine.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that component to a lot of this as well. If you were to ask me my critical score right now, like gun to my head, I'm saying like the lowest of decents. Like we're talking a 40, like rock solid 40, like dead on 40, a hair away from bogus. I didn't hate it. I don't have any intention of ever seeing this movie again. I thought, honestly, probably the best performance in this entire film was Harrison Ford. Thought Harrison Ford did the best job in the entire movie. He actually did show up for this, and that was another thing that Hollywood and Toto said on the review when we were talking about on that show earlier today, and I agree with him. I think that he's the best part of this movie, but outside of that, there was just a lot of like these ancillary characters. The villain kind of felt like a nothing burger. There was a lot that did not work for me in this movie. So, Kyle, where are you at?
Yeah, Kyle.
Sucked all the air out of the room.
Well, first off, I will agree that I think Harrison Ford had top marks as far as performance. Man, I had a great time, truly. And
nice.
To be fair, I was going in with low expectations because I didn't know what to make of it. And I tried to keep up with everything and the reshoots and the ballooned budget. And are they pivoting? Are they trying to was it like put out brush fires and stuff and try to get this back on track? And this is, all of us have experienced a drop in experiences going to the movies to see a superhero like Marvel film. There's only been a few because a lot of it's been to streaming and they've been focusing on the shows and all that's great. But like, first off, like I just had a great time going to a packed theater, seeing a new Marvel superhero film. Where I'd probably put it at, I'm probably in the mid to high 70s right now.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Nice.
I do buy. I agree with the comeuppance. Like I do buy Anthony Mackie as Captain America. I don't think he has the Chris Evans duration.
Right.
And I don't even think that's going to be planned because I think this is a smaller passing of the shield. and then Bucky will, just like he does in the comics. I think I also agree that this should have been what the show is.
Yeah.
Yes, and I do agree with that.
Way better than
if this had been 3 episodes of a show, my opinion would honestly be substantially higher.
Yeah.
And that's when, before we did this, where I was talking about the budget of, like, I think it was when we were in the theater, and I was saying how I didn't feel like the budget was there. We know that this movie has like a gigantuan budget.
Yeah, it wasn't like 300.
It's like 300 and something million at this point. It's outrageous between reshoots and stuff. And I don't feel like that budget was on display. There are only a couple scenes that really show off any level of spectacle, really.
Yeah.
And all of like the Hulk stuff, most of that was shown in the trailers, in all honesty.
That's where they fucked up the most.
Yeah, because
they ruined it because you knew it was going to happen, I guess. But it was just like the Hulk. I mean, that's all in the marketing.
Well, and that's the buildup of the whole film. I don't want to say too much, but like, they blew their load in the trailers. Like, they should not have shown all that.
They sure did.
Yeah. Thankfully, they didn't show everything, but
not everything. But close.
Yeah.
And even that fight, I still struggled with that fight, man. Him versus the Hulk, and I know the Wakandan suit and all this stuff. My guy was getting pounded into the ground. And like, the thing is we know that, like, with the Wakandan suits and Black Panther, even when he takes a bludgeoning like that, like, he has superhero powers underneath that suit.
Right.
Cap does not. Like, I'm
Which
telling
they
you,
mentioned
many times. And I think that they literally did it so much just to be like, we know he's not super powered. We know you find this unbelievable. Try not to pick it apart.
I also think they want to change also to, because there is going to be a changing of the guard eventually. I think Mackie's got this one. He's got the Avenger films. He might get one more solo outing and then passing it over, because whenever it goes to Bucky has the serum.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like, and he has his Wakandan arm. So there's all that. That's like his Red Wing or whatnot. So to have him without,
and he still feels like Falcon to me. Like, he still just feels like Falcon. He's just flying around everywhere. That is not Cap. Cap doesn't fly around everywhere. That is Falcon.
No, it's Falcon Cap.
That's his version of Cap. It doesn't have to be a 1-for-1 comparison.
I know it doesn't, but like, it just doesn't feel. Well, it doesn't feel like it. It didn't work in the comics, and it doesn't work
have to
now.
be the same all the way across.
I know.
I'll say this, like, this was, I'll die on this hill. Like, pacing wise though, that is one of the like best paced films that Marvel has come out with. Like, it felt tight. It did not let up. There were a couple of moments for me that I did not see coming that I went, okay, in my seat. And I mean, there was fun casting. I do agree with was it Saber?
Yeah, that ended up being.
I've seen her in great other stuff like shows and movies.
Right.
I couldn't really get behind.
I think it's because they really fully remade her character. There's a scene where she does some borderline superhuman stuff early on, and then it doesn't really happen again. And it's because she was supposed to be a superhero, and it was connected to Israel. And during all of this stuff that happened, everybody lost their shit, and they literally pulled the character from the movie and made her something else.
Which is freaking ridiculous. Like, that is so dumb. But you're right.
It was noticeable, which
correct.
And also on top of that, it's like the stuff that she does early in the movie is very borderline superhuman. This girl is like freaking 4.5 foot tall. Like, she is a shrimp, and just
not only is she short, she's like a stick.
Yeah. And so for her to do some of the stuff she's doing, you're just like,
I did like Rameriz, or the actor who played Falcon.
Yeah. Joaquin.
Yeah. I was just going in with low expectations, and I left like, man, that was fun.
Right.
You know, it's not gonna change, cinema forever, but it handled some big issues that you speak of like waving some things over.
Yeah.
I'm like, I've been waiting for a couple of things for multiple movies. Are they going to address this?
Yeah.
And they do. And not only that, it sets up bigger things moving forward. You spoke on like, there's some of these things like, we're not like, where are the consequences? Why? Like, this is bad writing. The things that you don't see the consequences, I think that's not that this is an excuse, but it is a slow burn. It is a setup clearly. Even speaking on, there's a post-credit scene. Even speaking on that's a build up.
Right.
But,
just a very mild one.
Interesting, because I feel like they're going breakneck pace. with the next couple movies. We have the Thunderbolts, and then isn't it just like slap right into the Avengers?
Fantastic Four is right
Fantastic
after
Four,
which isn't
in a couple
into
months.
any of this because that's in like the 50s.
Well,
or something,
actually, well, it's in an alternate reality. It all depends on how they
know.
handle it. I'm guessing that movie will probably end with them getting pulled into our reality. One would assume, or pulled into Battle World, and then they'll work their way into our reality. But which Battle World being the next Avengers movie, as far as the Doctor Doom stuff and everything, it's really getting into the MCU weeds. But
also to mention on how we all think that this was better than the series, they did Isaiah Bradley like more service in this one than the show. I'm like, he I forgot that.
And Isaiah Bradley was a previous Cap that no one knew about, essentially.
They even say forgotten Cap.
Yeah.
And was experimented on. That's from the comics. Like, I thought he did a
great
performance.
Really good
job. So yeah, it was just I had fun. It was I think I told you, Matt, like before we went to the theater, it had been a while for me. Like Spider-Man: No Way Home, Guardians 3, and Deadpool. And I'll say Deadpool and Wolverine was amazing and is tying into the MCU, but as it should be, has its own energy. It's very self-contained.
Yeah.
So for me, I've only been in the theaters a few times to see a Marvel film.
Yeah.
And with the hopeful course correction that are happening within and with what they're putting out, like, man, it just felt good. There was, during the sometime in the middle of the movie, I looked over to you. I looked over to you, and then I just kind of quick assessment. I hear people going like, "Oh, like oh," when Cap does some amazing shield work.
Nothing in this movie had the like visceral nature of how Cap used to fight, and like the fight scenes in this, they just weren't. The choreography wasn't quite there. Like it was fine. It was serviceable.
Good choreography.
There was some.
Yeah, I think I disagree with you on that.
Really?
I enjoyed it. My beef was that his fights were a little too long.
Really?
Where Captain America's fights are short and brutal.
Vibes of a certain well-known, like popular fight in The Winter Soldier. I'll just say it was outside. That's all I'm gonna say. So we're in the middle of the movie,
right?
And yeah,
nice.
I'm like that. Wow, I'm getting tones from that.
So, sorry for the lag, guys. The internet seems to be freaking out, or something's going on, or StreamYard or StreamYard.
Something's glitching a little bit. So apologies, y'all, if you're missing a little bits. It just started happening. It just kind of froze for a couple.
It looks like it's still kind of doing it a little bit. So if you're
not shown on my end,
y'all can let us know in the chat. I'm still seeing it in mine. I'm actually going to leave just so we don't bog down the internet. But yeah, I'm really interested in, you guys really seem to like this a lot more than a lot of people, and I'm curious to see as this continues, because like I said, we have currently in Criticlist, we have there are more reviews coming in, guys. So we have 8 now. We have some heinouses I'm seeing. If the load. Okay, so we've got a 56, a decent from CMB Jive. We've got a 94 Dalton, gave it a 57. Hollywood and Toto gave it a 50. Philip gave it a 0 with no text here. Now, the question of the day is if this is what we call in these parts a low-effort shit missile.
I believe it is. I believe it is.
And so the question is if he actually saw this or not, and if he actually thought it was 0. I'm willing to bet chances are low. But we did have The Martian with a fairly lengthy review that gave it a 5%, a 13%, a 75 by Nate Don, and Masaru, who's one of our pretty active guys, gave it a 21. So
I also can't trust Masaru.
He sees stuff.
His is hilarious, but he does one-liners, and I never know if his reviews are real or not. Because half the time I'm like, I think he's fucking with us.
I think he sees most of this. I think he sees all this stuff. He just likes to leave one-liners. But yeah, I think right now, chances are high this is probably going to end up, if I were a betting man, in the bogus range, maybe the decent. Now, y'all scores will obviously help pull up where we currently are. But I'm curious to see how this does in theaters.
Yeah.
My thing is, if you've been keeping up with the overall MCU and everything that's been happening, I will say that they do, like Kyle said, it does fill in some gaps within Marvel history. This honestly connects quite a bit to the original Hulk film, which they have not touched on since it came out. And it was the one with Edward Norton. And they really kind of abandoned that movie as a whole. And this really connects a whole lot to that movie.
Which is wild because, I mean, that was literally the first of the, or actually, I think it's the second. I think Iron Man came out first. But this followed right on the heels of it. Or that movie the Hulk was right on the heels of it. And I think that was the first time we actually got Nick Fury.
Maybe
he's in the post-credit.
He was in the post-credit scene there. I don't know if it was the first time, but yeah. And the weird thing is, a lot of people liked that movie fairly well. Like, they don't hate it. But I also had heard that, like, I guess that there was beef with Edward Norton and Marvel, and that was why he never came back.
It became a dark horse in the MCU, which I enjoyed it. Like, there was some great stuff in there.
Right. Oh yeah, yeah. I reviewed, but I actually saw and reviewed both of the Hulks.
Yeah.
Like last year.
I love Eric Bana's. That movie is absurd,
dude. It's fantastic.
I love it. It is the most comic book movie.
Exactly. And I remember, I was like 10 or 11, something like that when it came out. And I just remember loving it. Being like, this is fantastic. Like, my introduction to superheroes was that Hulk movie,
right?
And Spider-Man, and then Batman also. And I was just like, I love these movies. They're like comic books.
Yep.
I swear there's homage to that OG Hulk in this film, but I'm not going to say where.
Oh yeah.
Did it have to do with what someone was wearing?
No, it has to do with drones that look like something else.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. I saw another thing. I felt like there were several references to that movie, but that's honestly what this connects the most to. Now, I did see people calling it. They're like, "Oh, well, this is really just like a Hulk movie," and that is not the case. Hulk is actually barely in this movie. Do not go to see this movie for the Hulk. Or for Red Hulk.
I can understand why people would call this a Hulk movie, though.
A Hulk continuation movie.
Yeah.
That doesn't have our Bruce Banner Hulk in it at all.
It's a BOGO film, in my opinion. In a way, like, it's a Captain America led
Hulk universe.
Hulk universe film.
Huh. Yeah.
Or like, and I'm not saying it's like, I don't even know what the percentage would be. It's like, I can't say 50-50, but
it's a weird move.
60-40.
Like, it's a weird decision from Marvel this late in the game to connect this many phases later to be like, remember that, like, one of the first movies we made? We're gonna like make a whole movie that fully connects to that.
That wasn't even available anywhere because I think
Universal owns it or something.
Right. It wasn't actually a Marvel-owned movie. So it wasn't on Disney Plus until like a year ago.
It was before they created the MCU. And so Disney didn't like own the rights and stuff to it. It was really
through Universal.
Yeah. So everything about it, I think that this movie is serviceable. It's fine. Clearly these guys like it a lot more than I do. Now it does sound like, so far at least, general consensus is a little more lukewarm than you two. But I think this still, and I don't know what you guys would say. I mean, obviously with my score, I would personally say, like, you don't need to rush out to see this. Like, you could see this on Disney Plus. Like, this isn't a must-see theater movie, personally. But that's kind of where I sit with it. My score's way lower than y'all's. So
I'm going to say see it in the theater. You don't have to rush, but see it while it's in the theater.
My opinion on theater movies is big action movies are best in theaters.
Right.
Comedies, not so much. Horror movies are great to see in theaters, and then dramas don't see in theaters. So this movie falls under the action movie,
and this is about 40% action, though. I would say this isn't like a wall-to-wall action. It's still,
but there's enough action sprinkled throughout that I would still quantify this as an action movie,
right?
And I personally think, like Gazek said, like, I think y'all should see it in theaters if you're going to see it. And I mean, you don't have to rush to go see it.
Right.
Disney not even on a huge screen. Like, you don't have to do IMAX if you don't want to. Like, just go see a standard viewing, but see it in the theater. Like,
enjoy
the experience.
I'm curious to the thoughts. I would say this about it. the people that I know that are current naysayers of where Marvel is, those people are probably not going to be pleased with this movie.
Oh, dude. Yeah. I mean, 100%. Because this movie does some preaching, which is to be expected based on the show. It is not
significantly less.
Yeah. It's not nearly as heavy handed. And it is still race based to a degree.
Right.
But it's not as heavy handed. And it does make sense for the characters in my mind. And I knew while watching it, I was like, there's going to be plenty of people out here that are like, oh, they want to bring up race again and things like that. And I understand that people are tired of hearing about it. It is still a relevant thing and all that jazz. And I've heard a lot of people saying, oh, General Thunderbolt Ross was designed after Trump.
Right.
Which I disagree with.
I feel like that's people are reaching. I don't really like that.
That's what I was going to say.
I feel like that's reaching. Now, granted, it doesn't help with Mackie's previous comments that were politically charged and kind of shit on our country as he is Captain America. Like all of that stuff does not help. He didn't help his case for a movie that already was surrounded by a lot of bad press. But I don't know if that movie did, or that move caused him a lot of problems. But honestly, I think like the bigger issues here for me are really just that, which it sounds like he works for you guys. For me, he just still doesn't work as this character.
Sure.
I loved him as Falcon. Like if he had stayed Falcon, this kind of secondary, and even if he took a lead within the Avengers and stuff and they had continued with Falcon, like the second I saw Bucky, I was just like, oh man, I freaking miss Bucky. Spoiler, sorry.
Wow.
Whatever.
Wow.
We're not even spoilers yet, Blaine.
I mean, listen, guys, it's like a very mild spoiler.
It really is. He's in there for like 3 minutes.
It's nothing.
I missed nothing.
It's kind of sort of a spoiler. It's not like I'll hold back on the spoilers, but whatever. So I would just say it was interesting because we aren't getting a lot of this movie. Isn't like packed to the gills with a bunch of other MCU characters that we are familiar with and have seen a lot. And so seeing him, and I just still like, I always wanted him in that mantle first. And so seeing him, I got a better feeling seeing him back than like seeing Mackie in this role, which I think is a bummer because like I said, I love him as Falcon. So it's just kind of where I sit with this character. Yeah. So just to touch on the critics and where they sit with it and see what you guys think. Obviously, are y'all surprised by the fact that this has a 51% by 167 critics? Does this feel, because I feel like this is almost out of character for the critics, because for a long time they were very much on the MCU bus. Like they were on board with everything. They seem to be becoming more critical of this in general.
I think it's 167 people.
Right. Yeah, you're right.
I'm like, that's like a drop in the ocean.
Right.
So,
right.
Yeah, well, that's the problem with Rotten Tomatoes, though. So many times it's 10 people review a movie and their critic approved on the list, and then they're like, oh, well, this movie sucked because 10 people said so. And then so many people tout that. There's so many posts on social media being like, Rotten Tomatoes said this.
Right.
And okay, that's 167 people.
Right. A bunch of inflated egos.
I just scroll past any articles. I see that like, oh, something certified fresh or
right.
Hold on, guys. Hold on.
What do we got?
We got another super chat.
Oh, shoot. What's up? Well, let's hear it.
Planet X just did a smiley face.
Nice. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks, Planet X.
Yeah, thanks. And clearly our system is working better now. We're not having any more lag, I guess. So
it happened once again. I don't know what was up with that, but it seems to be shipshape for now.
Cool. So yeah, but the critics are a little more lukewarm on this. I guess it's right now a 50-50 split. Like you said, I don't tend to care about the score. It doesn't mean a lot, but I was curious to check in and see whether they dumped praise on this or not. Seems like that's not the case. And so as the reviews, they don't have their audience score even listed yet. So we'll see what happens with that. Obviously, we're very early on this movie. But yeah, so that pretty much covers that. And really now it's kind of time. Yes,
there's a couple new people in the chat. I just want to do some shout outs.
Yeah, say what's up.
So see, Magical Mouser said the Matrix is happening live from the lag.
Yeah.
Can't help the lag, unfortunately, for now. Let's see, Wine Fiend checking in.
Yep.
Seeing how we're doing. And then we have Jared Barnes, who was late to the party.
The
guy can't do anything with
I
him.
know.
Let's see.
And that is Terrapin Reviews on Criticless. So, yeah.
And that's it for the new people in the party.
Right. And I guess we've got X folks as well, technically. So I don't know if it pulls that chat or if there is one or what. We've still tried to figure all that out.
I think it does show that. I mean, they do have symbols of
where they're
YouTube
coming
on
from.
here, so I can only
Right.
assume. But
So yeah, but I guess now, guys, we're gonna get into spoilers. It won't be a super deep dive, but we will kind of touch on some things that could potentially ruin some stuff for you. I've already clearly hit a spoiler about Bucky, but there's that. But honestly, even the fact that we had a previous show where it was Falcon and the Winter Soldier,
yeah,
it would have been some bullshit if he wasn't in this movie. Like, let's be straight. We had a whole TV show about the two of them.
right. And
like,
so I was a little caught off guard. And I mean, this is jumping towards like 3/4 way through the movie, just because I mean, Bucky does show up, but it's literally for 3 minutes. So this isn't spoiling anything really, but he is now running for Senate or governor or something like that.
Yeah, Congress. Yeah.
I was that in the show? Do y'all remember if that was in the show?
No, it was not. It felt, that felt out of place to me because it's not been teased or addressed anywhere else.
And the weirdest thing, and what made it extra weird, is he's in the Thunderbolts,
right?
Which we saw the trailer for today.
So we got a congressman,
the Winter Soldier,
right?
So I don't understand if they're gonna. I guess they're gonna talk about that.
Congressman Winter Soldier.
Yeah, I think they're gonna talk about it too. Also, I had a thought when it was happening. Like, is this just a red herring or a smoke screen? Because right after he left, like, yeah, there was a gag about the like, how old is he? 100.
Right.
Like, I can make that work with Saber's character.
Speaking of bad writing, that entire scene
was
for
it
me was
Ruby?
bad writing. Personally, I hated that entire scene.
But
really,
I hated it.
But she spelled it out like that was tough writing. But the fact that she came in and just like, hey, in case you missed it from the suit and the button, like,
right,
run Buchanan Barnes, like running for congressman. I'm like, okay, like, why are you putting such a spotlight on that? So I'm wondering if they're going to address that in the Thunderbolts.
Yeah.
Well, part of me was wondering if that was also another reshoots thing. There are parts of this movie that absolutely feel choppy. I had wondered if maybe he was in some other scenes or if there was more depth to that scene or something. And basically they had to pose this in a way that made it make sense why he was dressed that way and looked that way.
Yeah, and
it felt real weird.
Why he wasn't in the rest of the movie. Because
right.
I mean, that's how, I mean, that did. It was like, oh, well, I'm busy running to be a governor, so
right.
I can't
Why did we not
save the world with you.
Right. In most other movies, you would think you would get a scene where, like, we might have seen Bucky on TV, like running for congressman, or there's some sort of allusion to this, or some posters or something. But it's just like out of nowhere, he's dressed in a suit and tie, and like not how we're used to seeing him. It was a very odd moment to me. But I mean, this movie, it really does, for me, the way it kicked off, and obviously they explained the vibranium suit, all that stuff a little bit later. But where it kicked off and he's like doing some very superhero-y things that we didn't know that he would be capable of doing. Yeah. For me, it just like, it was a bit jarring. And like y'all said, they went and explained it and whatever, but like with him hitting the sound barrier and stuff, but it kicked off with like him giving a line, and like it felt like they want to make him feel like Cap. And it was instantly, I was just like,
see, that's interesting, because I felt the Cap in it.
Really?
Like it was him trying to be Cap, which is what it should be, because he is not Chris Evans Captain America, which is what I said earlier. It's like him trying to capture the essence of Chris Evans Captain America. So it's somebody trying to be somebody else, which is why I was like, this works. He's learned that, you know, Captain used to do this. It's the confidence. And that was him being like confident. He's like, man, I got this. Watch this.
Yeah, and none of that worked for me. I just at all. Like when I say at all, I mean at all.
Yeah.
Like there was not a single scene that I bought it, not one.
Like, I enjoy it. It worked for me. I don't like. He had to do his own thing, and I think they based off of the trailer, it was a little different. But they when they meet in the war room or whatnot, President Ross literally says, like, "You're not Steve Rogers," and they have that in the marketing, and he doesn't say it in the movie, but in the trailers he's like, "You're right, I'm not." Like,
because he is his own character.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm curious to see what the overall reception as this goes on and we get more serious reviews and stuff as people buying him as this character, because the thing is, and a lot of this is going to revolve around how well this movie does as well. Like if this movie does not do well, we have seen Marvel clearly continuously pivot for the past 5 years.
Dude, they can't pivot out of this. There's no way.
The Battle World
thing, convince me. Maybe somewhere in there they will write it where he dies and another Captain America pops up or something.
I mean, I would say honestly, smartest move for them. We got 2 more Russo brothers Avengers movies coming.
Yeah.
Hard reset. Complete hard reset.
Yeah.
Clean the slate. I think that that's what the MCU needs at this point, personally, just because 90% of what they're doing does not work for me. We've got like different actors and scandals and all sorts of things. Ryan Reynolds, who they thought was going to come in and start saving things, has now found himself in an epic pile of shit. Like, we've just got things have continuously been getting really hairy. They dropped Kang, like that was supposed to be the next phase, and now that's not happening.
Right.
Like, they just keep finding themselves in these messes on top of the fact of just characters and storylines that people aren't liking. So I'm really curious to see, like, I don't think this movie's going to do well. I will be shocked if it crosses 100 million this weekend. If it doesn't, then it's not going to break even.
Right.
I don't know.
You have higher hopes for what it's going to do.
I'm optimistic. It's not going to, blow the roof out, but I think I was saying, like, maybe look at second weekend or something with after the holiday weekend, word of mouth. I don't know.
That's the thing. I don't know.
I feel like it can get over 100 million.
I don't think word of mouth's going to be good. I know both of y'all are higher, but like right now, everybody just seems to be like, even that kind of likes it, at least what I've seen and heard so far. And obviously that critic score to some degree still holds some weight. People see that and it's not great.
I guess I am mildly surprised by the critic score.
Right.
And I would be curious. I don't think we should do it on the air this time, but like I do want to read through their reviews because I am curious to see what they have to say. Not that they ever like make any sense.
Right.
But yeah, their words do carry weight with the populace.
Yeah. And so as just a quick rundown for people that were curious, with this plot, basically the whole thing here is that Ross has been President Ross at this point, who has been brought through the MCU from that first Hulk movie, everything, who's played by Harrison Ford, has basically been turned into the Hulk and didn't know it. And that's what we find out later on. I don't know how y'all thought that landed for you. I guess it was okay. He's been taking pills to turn into the Hulk and didn't know for a long time. I was kind of like, I guess, like, is that how you turn into the Hulk? I don't know. Like that whole bit to me was kind of a little like, I don't know.
It was unique as far as like the pills were gamma infused or gamma radiation infused, which instead of getting a localized significant blast like Bruce Banner, it's like, oh, we're going to give you a little bit over time, but you're not going to know it. And it's going to build, and it's going to build, and all we have to do is trigger you.
Well, and that's the thing is we know that radiation affects in different ways. So it's like, why does he become a Hulk?
So
like,
let me ask you guys. I have not read any comic books with Red Hulk.
Yeah.
My only experience with Red Hulk was I've watched Agents of Smash.
Yeah. And that was Ross as well, right?
I don't know. But it has like all the Hulks in it.
Right.
And it doesn't say how any of them become the Hulks.
Okay.
It's just they're already the Hulks and they all become a team and they go smash it.
Yeah.
How does Thunderbolt Ross become the Red Hulk in any comic book? You all know?
I don't remember. I have some issues with it, but I honestly don't remember. It's been so long. I don't know if you remember, Kyle, but
I think I remember one. I
don't think this was the case.
Agents of Smash. If I'm not mistaken, in the comics, at least one way is he tries. Okay, so in the original Hulk movie for the MCU, he's trying to take, like, he hates the Hulk. Like, he's trying to track him down. He's trying to get Bruce Banner. And so there is that type of storyline in the comics trying to take him down. I'm like, okay, well, like, if I'm going to have to...
can't beat him, join him.
Let's reference Pac Rim. We're going to create our own monsters to fight monsters.
Yes.
So it's like, okay, well, you know what? I'm going to take the I'm pretty sure it's the super soldier serum, like Captain America, but either the serum was wrong or it was with gamma or
something,
something went wrong, and then it turned him into
I think it was
Hulk.
to fight the Hulk. I remembered the same thing. It was something about it was to fight,
and it was serum based, but something was wrong with the serum.
Okay, I just looked it up, and per Google's AI summary, so this could be wrong. I'm just telling you what this says. He took gamma radiation and cosmic rays to defeat the Hulk.
So in a very similar way. So that's the thing. This is a totally different take on that. And the whole thing is that I cannot remember the name of the bad guy, but the big brain dude,
the leader,
the thinker, or the leader,
the leader. The leader. The leader is now back from the very first film. Like, they bring that character,
Mr. Blue.
Well, it's the best part because he didn't actually become the leader in the movie. Well, like, he got hit with the radiation, and they never showed him. And so they were going to make a third movie,
and
then they like The second I knew as a leader, I hit like
Yeah.
Kyle on the
Yeah.
arm, and like we all like realized the same moment.
You see that
That's the thing, is
glistening-
this movie has enough member berries for people that
They
are
do.
OG fans of the Hulks
Right.
to be like, oh man, it's the fucking leader.
The trigger song, the
Right.
he said the Mr. Blue song. Well, he went by Mr. Blue in the chat when
Right.
he was talking to Banner, who
Yeah.
was Mr. Green. Like, hey, you got
Yeah,
any
that's
updates
right.
on that?
Oh,
on
that's a
your
good
signs?
point.
There was tons of callbacks.
There was a
The
lot of callbacks,
Sonic
though.
Disruptor was
Yeah.
the same one, that the kind that was used on the Hummers that took
Yeah.
them out in the college campus.
You're right.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
tons of callbacks.
this is just a continuation of that movie a gajillion years later, which is just so odd.
Many years
To the
way
point
too
in
late.
which we literally get Betty back from at the
Yeah.
very end of this movie, and
Yeah.
she gets a phone call.
Yeah.
Who was the love interest of the Hulk and of Bruce, and she's back.
And this is the Liv Tyler.
Yes, Liv Tyler
one.
is back.
Yeah.
Yes,
I was happy. I don't know.
it
About
was
y'all.
cool. I was glad they did
that was
it.
great. That was cool.
Man, it needed to be the Jennifer Connelly. Y'all need to go back
I mean, that's
and watch.
totally different, but
Y'all
yeah,
need to go back and watch the first Hulk
Yeah.
because, man,
she's a baddie, bro.
woo,
Yeah,
she's got like, I've never seen another actress have this, or actor, but like her eyes like are like the "you need to take me right now" eyes. And she's giving it to
yeah.
I can't remember that his name right now. But
Oh,
like
Eric
the whole
Bana.
movie, and you're just feeling uncomfortable. You're like, man, wow. Ooh.
Right. She's
The
about to like
whole
make
time.
love with him on
It's
screen.
crazy. Because then they moved to Liv Tyler, who's got that innocent, like dough, like
Right.
face and expressions, and it's just a completely different,
soft, sultry
Mhm.
voice.
you know, almost elfish.
Yeah,
some would
almost.
say.
Some would say.
Yeah.
If you want him, come and claim him.
But yeah, there was doing all that was I think was kind of the most intriguing stuff, was connecting to all that. But the fact that the leader was not much of a villain here, he was just kind of pulling strings behind the scenes.
But that's
And-
what he does the best,
Right, which is
because
fine.
He's a genius, and
Right.
it's like he doesn't have superpowers.
For sure.
Probabilities and
He's
all
just
that.
one of the
Yeah.
few like super smart people.
Yes.
And so him pulling strings, that's why I was like, okay, I appreciate this
Right.
because he's not a super strong villain. He's
Sure.
a smart villain.
Sure.
It was like Zemo.
I think it was
Right,
just that
super
we
smart.
needed a little bit more time with him. I don't think we got enough time with him. He didn't
Agreed.
feel like he got time to really breathe and us to like get used to the character and
Yeah,
appreciate him.
Yeah.
He just didn't.
It
I don't
was
know.
the shortest cat movie, and that might be, you
Right.
know,
Well,
give it another 15 minutes. We could spend 5 of those with him.
Right.
In a couple more
well, and
scenes.
God knows what kind of movie this originally was.
I mean, like it's
Right.
7 minutes shorter than the next shortest
Right.
cap. It's nothing crazy, but
Yeah.
it's like just under
Now,
2
granted,
hours, but still.
I find the most intriguing and interesting part of this entire film is that we got adamantium.
Yes.
Yes.
I mean, there's a lot of, that's the thing with this movie. It gave us a lot of things.
Yeah.
For the MCU in general that we've all
Right.
been asking for, because
Mhm.
every Marvel movie for the last like, I don't know, 4 or 5 since like Endgame haven't given us anything. They've all
Right.
been these drifting standalone movies that supposedly we're all going to tie together.
They don't tie to anything.
They haven't tied to anything. So like, for example, in this movie, at the end of Eternals, which I know you haven't seen.
No, I've seen it.
Oh, you've seen
Yeah.
Eternals. Okay,
Yeah.
yeah. So then,
He hasn't seen the Marvels.
that's right. The what's it called? The Celestial.
Tiamat.
Yeah.
Like came out of the ground, and then 3 movies later, 4
More
movies
than
later,
that, yeah.
we finally get it talked about because they just pretended it never happened in so many movies. They didn't even comment on it once. Nobody was ever like, man, you know what's crazy? That giant creature came out of our Earth.
Right.
That was never mentioned
Yeah.
in any of the movies or shows
Yep.
since.
That we had a giant celestial being busting out of the ocean.
Right.
So
And so I am glad this movie made
It
that
might have
like,
gotten
a
mentioned
core part of the
once.
politics.
Right.
but still, yes, it
Yeah.
should have been a big deal. And that is
Yes.
a big core component of this. There's a big scene surrounding that. That's the scene that I was alluding to when I said, like, as far as all of the where all the budget, like that was the only really big scale moment.
Right.
Because the thing is during that Hulk scene, it had some of the most shitty ass green screen shit I have ever seen in
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah, there was some really bad.
There's a couple shots at the back end.
Horrendously bad.
Yeah.
Embarrassingly bad.
Specifically, the one that pops in my mind was when they showed like a damaged area with cars flipped.
Yes.
Mhm.
And I was like, this is all
green
really
screen.
bad CGI green
Yes.
screen.
Absolutely.
And I was just
And
like, what in the world?
There were
happened?
scenes when the camera was above Cap and it was like showing down on him and like certain angles where he was talking. And I was like, he is on a green screen set. Like none of this is real.
Yeah.
There was in that same spot, there were some people like picking up debris, picking up giant pieces of concrete, like regular
Oh,
people
yeah,
off
yeah.
of him. And I was just like, the fuck? Like,
Oh, well, but that was also, so I do have beefs with that final scene. Like the fight scene I liked. I mean, I can get behind, I can wave away in my mind. He has
Right.
adamantium.
or
Like,
well,
he's guarded, or vibranium, like
yeah.
he's shielded. But then, he literally said, "Clear the area before we get there," and then lands before they clear anything.
Right.
Then they fight it out. And then, like you said, they switched to like them being covered in debris and people being all around.
I feel like all of that was after the fact, like had to be edited in. Like some of those were those late shoot stuff because it was so shitty. Like it felt out of place, and like
Hulk looked great.
Hulk actually did look. He looked great.
He was terrifying.
I had cold chills because I don't like the Hulk we've had for the last handful of movies. I don't like Smart Hulk.
Yeah, no,
I
don't
like
either.
angry, impulsive, huge Hulk.
This was Age of Ultron in South Africa Hulk,
right?
With the red eyes, just like going crazy.
Angry. Yeah, no, I liked that. I think that was some of the best stuff in it, honestly. But it wasn't in the movie very much. It was just that tiny bit at the end,
right?
And then also that whole scene just felt really cobbled together and weird,
right?
I don't know what happened, and just with those like the cherry blossom trees and all they're blooming, like all that stuff. It was.
I mean, I guess that's the only way to calm a Hulk, because I had beefs with that too, and I was like, oh, how do you calm Red Hulk?
Right.
And I was like, I don't know. The only thing I can think of is what they've been setting up is that, his memories of his daughter wanting to change. And so that's what they did with it.
Cherry blossom.
And so, I mean, I don't know what, unless I half expected either Tony's tech to show up.
Right.
And then try to do like a Hulk Buster Captain America, which would have been fucking cool.
Right.
But they didn't. Or like the Hulk to show up or something. Because I mean, he showed up in She-Hulk. We know there's two other Hulks in this world.
Right.
Yeah.
But then again, timing wise, it wouldn't have worked.
Right.
With him going Hulk and then this happening like in 10 minutes or whatever. So I don't know.
It did feel like it ended rather abruptly to me as well. I don't know if it felt that way to you guys, because that Hulk fight was quite quick. It's which obviously you can't drag out that scene because how is he gonna fight the Hulk? But also that's where it comes down to the thing too of like, maybe you bit off more than you could chew with this plot. Maybe you don't need to make a human Captain America fight freaking Red Hulk.
Right.
Like maybe you go smaller scale. And we know that there are villains that were completely cut from this film. There was a professional wrestler, can't remember the guy's name.
Oh, really?
Completely cut from this movie. He was a main villain, literally just recently did some press and was like, everything is gone from the movie.
Do you think he was the guy in the beginning of the movie that fought Captain?
He wasn't. No, he wasn't in the film at all.
No, but okay.
No, at all. Like he said,
that guy felt like he was supposed to be something. And then
we'll call it Tiamat battle in the Indian Ocean. That was like
the best
pinnacle.
part.
Yeah,
right. And that felt like that was probably set. That was probably from the original script. Like this was like, because you could tell they spent a good bit of money on it and a good bit of time.
Yeah.
But there are plenty of other things where you can tell when you step back and actually like look at it, go like, well, this feels like this could have been a reshoot.
Right. Like you were building up to something here and you didn't do whatever it was you were trying to do, which is a shame. I hate that because and who knows, maybe the original version clearly, like if they needed to cut it up this much, maybe it wasn't good. Like,
well, and that's, I wonder, because in a lot of our beefs with the show was that it was so political. I wonder if this was going to be equally political. And they were like, we need to completely change, especially with our political landscaping nowadays. With Trump in office, and there's a big changing of the guard and all that. They were like, you know what? The zeitgeist of our current era is something different.
And we know how political that show was. So it's like, I would not be surprised if they were heading in similar directions with this movie and we're like, shit, we got to walk this back fast.
Right.
So who knows?
I just kind of wonder if that was it, or if the script was just really that bad. And like you said, like they don't know what they're doing right now. There's no like, there's nothing. We don't know what they're doing because this is chaos currently.
Like, like if we didn't know the future plot, or like as far as the future movies coming out, like we know the movies they are planning on making. If we didn't know that, we would still be well, But like if we didn't know that, I think we'd still be like, I don't know where this is. I don't know where Marvel's headed. Yeah, I don't know.
There's a couple things. One of them is just a fun fact because I'm a movie whore. So the prime minister, I believe, of New Delhi. Yeah, you see him in a couple scenes. He had the white beard. Yeah. I just thought I pointed at the screen like, because I'm like the only one in the theater I think that's getting it. That was Hidalgo's, or he was in Hidalgo. He was the main Viggo
Right.
Mortensen's character's race. Random fact, whatever. The other thing, I don't know if you saw me, Matt. Remember, I don't know. I kind of made eye contact with you in the theater, and I went, like, I kind of like, I was shocked about something, or realized something.
Right.
What was going on in my mind in that point was, I believe it was very, very strategic that with these accords and sharing the adamantium from Tiamat and the sample and everything, that Japan is in play here and was in it a lot for the movie. And it was, I think, Prime Minister Ozawa or something. Aizawa, no.
Yeah.
But I don't believe for a second there's a sample of adamantium that the Japanese government got and was stolen. I don't
think we're going to get the Silver Samurai?
Correct, sir.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Get out
bro.
of my brain. I think, and I'll double down on that. I don't think that's the only sample.
Right.
I think that's one sample. I think they're either going to get more, or they already have another sample on lockdown, and we're going to get Silver Samurai from that. Like
it does feel
of all the countries, like.
Oh, okay.
They were so prominent, like,
because that is a whole like
adamantium
adamantium character, like suit, everything.
And they were strategic, I think, trying to shield it. Like, oh no, it's not just Japan. We have other countries here. We have Russia and France and New Delhi and whatnot. I'm like, no, he went all the way to Tokyo.
I want a Frenchman with some adamantium.
I think we're getting
Here comes croissant man.
You want a piece of my adamantium croissant?
Like, I think all of us here love Wolverine, like the Wolverine movie where he went to Japan.
I freaking love that movie.
I want to see whether it's Hugh Jackman again or another Wolverine. I want to see.
It better be a different damn Wolverine. God Almighty, Hugh has had his go.
I'm just saying. I want to see Wolverine fight Silver Samurai again at some point.
Yeah,
and I think that was a strategic like breadcrumb to get to there.
That would not surprise me. And they're clearly working on the X-Men now. Right. We have adamantium.
Well, honestly, I just don't know how they're going to work the X-Men. I mean, how do they work the X-Men? It doesn't make any sense because in the X-Men, they're born with.
Well, we're still dealing with the multiverse.
Yeah, I mean, they'll have to do that. They'll have to be the multiverse.
Miss Marvel is a
mutant.
What was the other one? And then you had the crossover, which I did see from the movie. I haven't seen the
Marvels.
Yeah, the Beast.
Well, that was in an alternate reality as well.
Right. And then you have Wolverine and Deadpool. So
I have a theory. I think what is going to happen is after the Battle World stuff, I think we're going to have a merger of universes.
They'll just be always there.
I think that they will pull from multiple universes and we will get all of these characters pulled into one location. I think.
I feel like that's a mistake because what they're doing is they're just going to make too many heroes in one world. You know what I mean?
Marvel's is always, the comics are that way though. They all exist in the same world.
And I can appreciate that. But when it comes to movies, this is my problem with a lot of the Batman and Superman and all that stuff. The movies and the way they handled them was like, they were like, here we go. And then we just threw them in a team up movie.
Right.
And it was just too much all at once. We didn't get backstories and things like that. My worry is that's what they're going to do, is what they're going to be like, oh, the X-Men are here. And
well, in previous Marvel, we would have trusted. We would have trusted Marvel from 7 years ago. Marvel now, it's like, but because they literally were at a point where they could do no wrong. They are not there anymore.
Right.
So, they've got a lot of goodwill that they burnt up, which I never thought I would say. But that's where we are. And unfortunately, which I was calling this for a while, I didn't think that this would be unanimously loved. At the very least, I was like decent at best.
Yeah.
But the thing is I obviously this is still part of that previous MCU plan that they have been switching and changing up and messing with.
Yeah.
So I think that the thing that could say, we'll see how Thunderbolts are. People don't seem super excited about it. It could be a sleeper hit. I'm actually personally excited for Thunderbolts. I hope that it's great. Yeah. But I think that if things are really going to be a pivot into like back to what we got from Marvel from before, it's going to be with the Fantastic Four. And I think going from there on is going to be when the MCU starts getting better. You're not excited for it?
No, it looks terrible.
What? Really?
I have no interest in that movie at all. I do not look forward to watching.
Oh, wow. What do you like the Fantastic Four?
I like the two movies that have been out,
like the cheesy ones from the 90s or 2000s or whatever.
Super comic booky movies.
Was there something that like
I just doesn't look good? No, it literally just doesn't look good.
Really?
Like the effects, the production design.
I think it's the casting. I think I'm still stuck on the casting.
It's just Pedro.
Pedro is the worst casting I've seen in forever.
He's not Mr. Fantastic, period.
No.
Like
And that's why
haven't seen it yet.
whoever
I know.
played Reed in the movies.
Now, the
back
other
then,
guys
that's
are-
like perfect to me.
everybody
Right,
else
right,
I'm
right.
excited about as far as the casting. Now, granted, my biggest beef so far with the Fantastic Four trailer is just that Ben Grimm talks like the actor's voice. I thought they should have at least done some slight modulation or made him talk with a little bit of a gruff. Like he talks like a normal dude, and it's a little weird coming out of that like gravelly rock body. We're not used to that.
In defense, he is talking like the actor's
actor.
voice, but in a very, what we saw in the trailer was very casual,
Right.
around like making dinner for someone,
Right.
versus I want to hear what he sounds
When
like
he's
when they're in
fighting.
battle,
Time.
when there are huge stakes, when the emotions are
Right.
ramped up.
Yeah.
Like,
I agree.
there could be some huge distinction, honestly.
I agree.
Yeah.
The rest of the casting I love for that movie, but I think personally, if there's anything that's going to like save where the MCU is now, it's not this movie currently. It's probably not the Thunderbolts. It's, if anything, going to be the Fantastic Four.
I think this film, like you said, Matt, addresses some big things. Like you said, Thunderbolts, I think will be, I mean, I'm excited for it,
Mhm.
but it won't be some groundbreaking, but I think
Right.
it'll also bring in some very needed components that
Yeah.
are going to help reestablish things.
Right.
And then, like you said, Fantastic Four is, all right, we're off to the races again.
Yeah.
Strap in.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
I think
We'll
you're right.
see. I don't
We will.
know.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
Right.
We'll-
You're
we'll
not
see.
excited
Honestly,
about
I
it, so-
more agree with Blaine. Like they should pump out 2 more Avenger movies and then just hard chop.
Which,
A
and that's
new universe. They can start off with the X-Men, all new cast. Don't use a
Right.
single actor they've used.
they better not. They better freaking not.
find all new actors. They can
Over
start with
X-Men?
the X-Men and just kind of go forward
Yeah.
from there.
Well, and I mean, they could even, like I said, with like a universal reset, it's like they could do that with this movie and it technically still be like kind of sort of connected, but not really. But it's like essentially 90% reset. Like,
Yeah.
you might can pick a few pieces and parts, but like if you're merging all these universes and whatever, and it's like this is what was left, you could write off some of these characters that have been around for a while, like this version of Doctor Strange and different things, bring in some new actors. Like you could really do a clean slate wipe after that movie and like bring in just alternate universe versions of people and all kinds of crazy shit, like, and just like make it
And
more
I think
cohesive.
that's the problem. That's where they're going to start losing people.
They
Because
could.
that's where, like, as a fan, I mean, I've seen all the movies. I've watched
Right.
them multiple times. I've got my rankings saved on my phone. Like, I'm starting to get lost, and especially if they
Right.
start bringing in all these different characters from different universes and things like that. I feel like they're just going to start losing people
Right.
that are slightly interested.
Well, I
And
think
then
if they
the
just,
non-interested people are going to be like, I don't know what's happening.
Oversaturation.
I don't even want to watch this.
yeah. Well, no, they were clearly at an oversaturation point before, but
Yeah.
I think it would have to be a very clear, like, you don't need to see anything that came before, even if some of the actors are still there.
Right.
Like essentially a clean slate.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I'll give you 2 real quick.
Sure.
I need Taron Egerton
as Wolverine,
as Wolverine.
absolutely,
And I need
absolutely.
and I know this has just been fan casting and people posting recently, but I'm so on board, and I've been for like 3 years now. DeWanda Wise for Storm.
I'm not
She
sure who
played.
is.
Oh my gosh, why am I going blank? She was in the first thing I saw her in that I like remember performance was Jurassic World Dominion. She was the
Okay,
ex-military turned like kind of pilot for hire,
Right.
like shady pilot for hire.
I can see that. Yeah,
But
there's
she would
a
work.
there's a thing
her
here
bravado
with somebody.
and skill, like
Yeah.
like what she could bring
Right.
physically, like I'm on board for DeWanda Wise.
I
as
can see that.
Storm.
Yeah, I mean, there's already speculation. Clearly, there's an article that came up right away, so I
Yeah.
could see her pulling that off.
I
For sure.
mean,
I mean,
I
sure.
think she could
Why
rock
not?
that easily.
Storm's one of the most badass comic book characters ever. I mean,
Oh,
they need to get the right
hands
person.
down.
I mean,
And
before it
that's
was Halle
where
Berry.
Halle
so-
Berry,
Show
Halle
her
Berry.
power. Show her true power. Like
The only thing with DeWanda Wise is could be good or bad depending on it. Is she's already 40, so
Yeah, but
at least
how
bring
old
her
is
in for
Storm?
Battle World. Then
In my mind, Storm was at least in her 30s, and the way she always spoke, I mean,
Right.
because she was so educated.
she came across as
but I could
older
see
and
her
more
being
mature.
a 40s character and not
I could
being a
too.
problem.
I could too.
Are we doing like? Are we gonna have the X-Men like the OG X-Men, or are we gonna have
Right.
X-Men like Apocalypse, Dark Phoenix,
Right.
where it's or like
Seasoned.
younger? Yeah, like
Right.
Dude, I don't really know where they're going to go there. And they might
Yeah.
actually not even do
Or
the
mix.
X-Men. I
Right.
could see them skipping X-Men for now.
Oh,
and
they're
doing,
not.
like,
No, they're
X-Force.
you mean
No,
a
I just
totally
mean like they're
different-
going to do mutants,
right,
but like do a later
right,
progression
a
of
different
them.
branch of the X-Men or
Right.
something.
That's what
or
I could see them.
New
doing.
Mutants or
Yeah.
whatever.
well,
Yeah.
there's Gambit. I would imagine at the very least, I mean, at the very least, he's probably going to show up.
It better
in
not be
one-
that Gambit. We don't need that.
That
No,
was perfect
No.
Gambit.
What Gambit
I
from Deadpool?
loved it.
Yes,
Dude,
not that
he was
Gambit.
so good.
Not
He was-
that Gambit.
He was so
Good.
enjoyable.
Ugh,
Like
not
So
that
good. I
He
loved
looked-
it. It's the only Gambit for me.
He- at least he give him some time to have fun in one of the Avenger movies, and then if you want to recast it,
I'd
that's
say
fine.
they just keep Deadpool's
He's-
shit
he's a
separate
variant.
and bring him in with
He's
that.
literally a variant.
He is variant.
So let him have some fun, and then find your sacred timeline,
Right.
New sacred timeline,
Right.
Yeah.
Gambit, and go from
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
Uh,
can see
caveat Ty said in the chat, Wanda Sykes as Storm.
That would be great. Wouldn't want it, but it would be hilarious.
I'm gonna bring
for
some
sure.
lightning and thunder up in here.
Since Corner agreed with you that Angela Bassett would make a fantastic Storm.
Right.
But she also threw in the name for Kiki Palmer.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kiki Palmer could do it too.
Yeah. So I don't know who that is.
Some
but-
good.
Yeah.
some
She would be a
uh,
good one. Yeah. I don't know how she would carry that, but yeah. I mean, there's a lot of people out there that could be great.
Oh.
It's just
And my thing is they almost need to get no names.
right.
That's
That's
my
what I was
problem
gonna say.
right now is Marvel is so saturated with big names.
Yeah.
And when they started, they
It
got
wasn't.
people that were low tier celebrities.
Yep.
Like Brad Pitt's not in this. You know,
Right.
like George Clooney's
Right.
not. I mean, they did like Batman and other things, but like
Right.
that's what they need to get back to.
Yes.
Smaller budgets,
Yep.
just grounded movies.
Lesser named actors, smaller scale.
Yes.
All that.
Agreed.
Ground level
Yeah.
heroes. Yeah.
I don't know who he would play, just thinking off of characters from the top of my head, but I would love to see Sharto Copley as an X-Men,
Yeah.
or at
No
least in the
idea who that
X-Men
is.
universe.
He's great.
Maybe a villain. I don't know.
He would
but-
make a great villain. I'm surprised he
Yeah.
hasn't showed up in the MCU yet, but yeah, you would
Yeah.
know him if you saw him. But
District 9,
yes, yeah, and
Oh, the main
the
guy?
A team,
Okay.
the crazy guy from the
Elysium,
A team.
Chappie.
Okay. Oh yeah. I
Yeah.
love that guy.
So, anyways, but guys, I think that's pretty much it for this movie.
Yeah.
It sounds like we're
Yeah.
well, I would say a little split. I'm the odd man out for once on this one.
So okay, let's just recap real quick. Blaine,
yes,
has your opinion changed at all?
no, absolutely
Okay,
not.
so you're still sitting at a lowest of decent.
Yes, like 40% at best.
Okay.
Yeah.
Chris, as your
Yep.
Chris, I'm keeping it warm for you. Get over here.
yeah, well, we'll see him eventually.
Yep.
Kyle, are you still sitting?
Mid to high 70s, mid
Okay.
70s, yeah, somewhere
Okay.
around there.
So rad.
Yeah, rad.
And
rad.
I'm still sitting kind of a low rad.
Low rad.
Because
Okay.
the more I think about it, there are a lot of like obvious. I mean, it was enjoyable at the time. Like walking
Right.
out of theaters, I was like, this is a rad movie.
Right.
I still like it. And
Mhm.
like I said, my mindset was this is him still becoming captain
Right.
as a mantle. But so I'm still sitting in a low rad.
Yeah.
With mine.
It's 2 for 2 for me, even though like it's only a rad for me. I'm starting this out from Deadpool after just this wave of like underperforming. Like, oh,
Yeah.
man, where are we going with the MCU? Like Deadpool had a blast.
Right.
Okay.
This one, I had a really good time. So for me, 2 for 2, and I'm hoping by the time we watch Fantastic Four in the
Right.
summer, it'll be 4 out of 4 going into Avengers.
And that's
Right.
next, right? That's in July, right?
Oh,
It's-
what?
it's,
Fantastic
uh,
Four?
Fantastic Four?
Yes.
It's Thunderbolts and then Fantastic Four.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's it for
oh
the
yeah,
year.
because that's in May.
Yeah.
That's
right,
it for the
right.
year, and then
Yeah,
we
yeah.
hit Avengers next year.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we still don't have a Blade.
Yeah.
That's why you got to watch Jurassic World Rebirth to
Yeah.
just see Mahershala in that.
Yeah. And one thing I didn't touch on, I guess I will say, if anybody was curious as far as kids and stuff watching this movie isn't too gritty, too violent, too whatever. It's just that I don't know that for the younger audiences, like my kids have watched a lot of MCU movies, but I don't know that this one would entertain as well because it has more of those like political thriller elements. The plot is a little complicated, but
Yeah.
I don't know that
It's
kids would be like
grittier.
super entertained in this.
Yeah, I don't think
Yeah,
so.
I don't know. There's enough action though. If they like, so like my
50-50.
son picked out the Falcon, Captain
Right.
America, but Falcon action figure at the
Right.
store, and he like wouldn't let it go. And he's like, "Look at my Falcon!
Mm-hmm.
Look at my Falcon!"
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "I know, buddy. That's your Falcon." And
Right.
he's like, he's just obsessed with his Falcon. So
Right.
for kids, if they like, Falcon, which
Right.
is weird because my son has never actually seen the movies.
Right.
He's just seen
cartoons.
the cartoons. So he's seen a couple of different ones that Falcon's in.
Right.
And so if they've seen stuff and they're aware of the characters, they
Right.
might be interested
I
because the
know-
action scenes are fun.
Yes.
So I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be interested, but it's not appropriate wise and stuff. There's nothing like too violent on screen or not a ton of language or, you know, so it's a fairly safe movie as far as that goes. We just didn't touch on it.
And last thing.
Yes.
Before I forget, I got to give shine to Giancarlo Esposito because even though he didn't have a lot of screen time,
he did not.
He did good with what he was given. He made his presence known.
Yeah.
And they didn't just, I could have seen them really messing up and just, we'll say underutilizing him, but we could definitely see more of him moving forward, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah, I think I could see him being a villain for like the Thunderbolts or something, because it just seems like he's a merc.
Yeah, he's probably just kind of like a manipulator behind the scenes, whatever. We didn't get a ton of time with him.
I want to see the whole Serpent Society.
Right.
Like that could be in Daredevil, that could be in Spider-Man. I don't know.
Right. Yeah, I think that some of that with that villain that I was talking about,
was supposed to be in that.
I think that he was part of the Serpent Society and stuff. I think.
Yeah, and this movie honestly would have made sense if they had one other villain that was not necessarily super villain, but like not a mercenary. You know, somewhere between mercenary and Red Hulk.
Gotcha.
Somebody that was a good fighter, because that was the thing, is like he was a good fighter, but just a mercenary. So it seemed, anyways. I don't know if he
just had big guns and
good tactics.
Right. Yeah,
he seemed like ex-military or something, like you said, just a merc. So anyways, but yeah, guys, well, I guess that's it for our Captain America Brave New World movie. Also, I never said, but I do think that it was still a terrible name for this movie. It doesn't connect to like anything to do with the Brave New World novel or anything. The original title was way better. Right. It was a weird name for this movie. But yeah, so that's it for that. I'm interested to hear everybody's thoughts. If you see it, make sure to leave your review within Criticless on the app. We will all do the same, so you can see our official, reviews in there. But we'll put them in the app, and make sure to do that. And we will be back next week for a review of something.
I think Monkey.
Oh, yes. It's the horror-esque film. It's based off a Stephen King short story, and it's done by Osgood Perkins, the guy who recently directed another horror film with Nick Cage. I wish I had been prepared to talk about this. Yes, The Monkey. But it's a horror-esque film. It is apparently extremely brutal and over the top and ridiculous. I saw actually Sevi, who's in the app that reviewed this movie, apparently has already seen it, and I saw her drop a review for that as well, and she loved it and said it's fantastic. Sweet. So I am excited to watch that. But
yes, based off the trailer, I'm also excited.
Yeah, it looks cool. So maybe we'll pull Chris in. That's not a Kyle movie for sure. So
I might say, I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. You can check out the trailer. I am interested in everything about that movie. So yeah, we'll be reviewing that next week, and I'll be doing some news and stuff. But I'll be popping in and out of other shows. I know I'm going to be on Bro Science next week at some point with Beardo, so you can catch me there as well. So I'm going to continue to do the rounds and be kind of all over the place. So who knows how my schedule will go. But guys, this has been fun. Thanks for coming into the chat and checking out
send-off songs.
Yeah. And yes, we can do a send-off song. I was actually planning on moving when we did our send-off songs, but for those who appreciate our send-off songs, we send you all off with a song at the end of every episode. And so Matt,
do you go first?
Yeah, do you have a song that's ready?
I do, because I did come to this prepared.
I did not.
We always do send-off songs.
Well,
you holding this card to your chest.
Yeah, sorry.
Anyways,
sorry.
I'm doing Oblivion Eyes by Magnolia Park, Keizo, and Ethan Ross.
Nice.
So this is a collab song that it's weird because it's a hard rock song, but the singer is melodic, but one of the other singers is a screamer, but there's also dubstep.
Okay.
So it's like a variety. It's like a genre blast.
Yeah.
But it's very appeasing to hear because it's like that dubstep like that like picks up in the right spot.
So how does it do, Matt? Okay. Yeah. All right. I'm on board. Yeah. I can feel it already.
I mean, I'm basically gonna start my own band.
Yeah. I mean, you should. Yeah.
So
Matt's mouth music.
Yeah.
So we'll add all of these songs also to our Criticalist Cast playlist within on our YouTube channel. I do have a song. I'm gonna do a song by Bill Murray, but it's spelled Bilmuri and Brody, and the song is called Absolutely Cranking My Fucking Hog is the name of the song. So
you would be listening
and it
to
is
that.
all one word, and it's a jam. It's like you said, it's a genre mashup. There's like, I don't even know how to describe the song, but it was this random weird thing where I saw someone performing it. Well, this band performing it live actually on a TikTok video, and they had this saxophone player that was absolutely ripping it
Was he
up.
cranking his hog?
He was cranking that horn, and so I was like, I need to figure out who and what this is. Hunted it down, and it's that's that on. Matt'll have fun finding that song on YouTube. So that's absolutely Cranking My Effing Hog.
All right.
I have a collab song as well. It is Arcade Oliver by Robert Parker featuring Wave Shaper. Play it anytime. I highly recommend it when you're in the car driving. It's going to make you feel like you're in your own arcade shooter. And just good vibes.
Nice.
Upbeat, very nice.
Sounds fun.
Sounds like my kind of thing.
Yeah.
So sweet. All right, guys. Well, that's been it for this episode of Criticalist Cast Unhinged, and we will be back very soon. Everybody take it easy. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you guys later.
Later, everybody.
Peace out.